In the previous chapter, a mysterious drunkard shared a tale of betrayal and lost ideals. Yongning questioned justice, while he laughed bitterly, calling himself the true fool. His identity was about to be revealed. "Let's begin the chapter." The drunkard's laugh was hollow, echoing with pain. "The true fool here is none other than myself." His voice cracked with self-loathing. "I dreamed of building a perfect world. Can you believe it? And what did I get for my grand ambition? Her death. And me, running wild, amok across these western lands. Such a fool I was." Zhuo Fan, feeling a strange pang of sympathy, reached out and patted the old man's shoulder. "Ha ha ha, senior," he chuckled, though a little hollowly himself. "Men? They're all the same when it comes to women. They'll tell you mountains, promise you stars, spew the grandest, most impressive lies you ever did hear. Oh, bite me, you little whelp. I'm not that shameless, not like you," the drunkard snapped, a sudden fire in his eyes. "I was always truthful to her, always." He glared, then softened slightly. "I can see your heart's skewed, boy. Twisted. But that just means you need to find yourself a lass with a heart in the right place, someone to pull you back to the straight and narrow. Just like her. You called her foolish? Foolish is the last thing she was. She was just kind." Zhuo Fan flinched, a familiar sting of emotion hitting him. He frowned, a dark look crossing his face. He had felt this before, this strange resonance. The drunkard's feelings for the princess. They were a mirror of his own for Ninger. It seemed that masterminds, men of their caliber, needed a touch of innocence, a naive soul to anchor them, to keep their minds from shattering. They were the only ones, the truly kind, who could bring a moment of peace in this world of endless lies and deceit. The drunkard lifted his flask, tilting it over his open mouth, hoping for just one last drop. But it was empty. He sighed, a deep, weary sound. "Out of wine again." He shook his head. "Gotta get myself some more." He glanced at Zhuo Fan, a flicker of something like gratitude in his eyes. It's a rare thing, meeting young folk willing to listen to an old man's ramblings. He paused, then a sly glint appeared. "If luck is with us, maybe I'll lend you a hand next time. Though, make it something small, understand? Something trifling. Messing with a sect? Now that's more within my skill set. But," he held up a finger, "you'll have to give me something for it. Anything, senior. Just name it," Zhuo Fan asked, his voice eager, eyes gleaming with sudden opportunity. The drunkard pondered for a moment, his gaze distant. "A painting," he finally said, his voice softer now, tinged with longing. "A painting I drew for her. My greatest work it was. A damn shame it got lost, vanished with the fall of her clan. I even sent word out, years ago, that I'd do anything for whoever brought it back to me. Anything. So many years have passed. Not a single word. I may never see it again." And then, just like that, the drunkard turned and was gone. "Senior!" Zhuo Fan called out, suddenly desperate. "Senior, what does the painting look like?" From the distance, the drunkard's voice echoed back, laced with a touch of pride. "My painting is quite famous, young man. It's called Lads of Our Nation." The words hit Zhuo Fan like a physical blow. "Lads of Our Nation," he whispered, his eyes widening in disbelief. That means he's Danking Shen, Western Land's strongest man." The girls gasped, their eyes wide with shock. "Danking Shen? We've heard the legends? Is he still alive after 1,000 years? Where's the painting?" Zhuo Fan spun around, his mind racing. "Tianyu, doesn't Tianyu have it somewhere?" He turned sharply to Yongning, his voice urgent. This is our chance to get a peek. Expert on our side," Yongning started, her face lighting up with hope, then it fell just as quickly. When you went to the imperial capital last time, she said, her voice dropping with disappointment. After third brother's coronation, the painting was gone. He wanted to use it as a betrothal gift for Long Kui, but it hasn't been found anywhere in the treasury. Damn that pile of blubber, Zhuo Fan cursed, frustration boiling over. He screws things up, right when it matters most. He sighed, a heavy, defeated sound. Then, slowly, he nodded, a strange look in his eyes. That's good. Very good. High above them, in the solemn silence of the heaven-reaching pavilion, two old men sat at the head of a vast room. One was a figure of stark white, hair like snow, eyes sharp and piercing. The other, cloaked in raven black, possessed a long, flowing beard and a heavy, brooding complexion. Below them, arrayed in respectful silence, sat the ethereal stage experts, from every major sect. It is settled, the White Elder declared, his voice resonating through the chamber. The Double Dragon Gathering will begin in 3 days. The established rules apply, commencing with the lower 3 sects. You are dismissed. The assembled experts bowed deeply, voices united. Yes! As they began to file out, a figure rushed into the room, breathless and agitated. Sirs, something is wrong with the barrier. The White Elder, his sharp eyes narrowing, asked calmly, What is wrong? The man spoke restlessly, his words tumbling out. The barrier doors. They have opened 9 times, once for every sect, yet there has been a 10th opening. The White Elder considered this for a moment. You may go, he said finally, his voice low and thoughtful. But be on guard. Yes, sir. The man saluted and hurried away. Silence returned to the pavilion, thick with unspoken tension. The White Elder turned to his black-haired companion. Only through specialized techniques and immense strength, he began, his voice barely above a whisper, can one enter the barrier without triggering an alarm, and to do so silently, to move unseen past the two of us, and with such familiarity with the Double Dragon manner. The black-haired elder finished his thought, his voice heavy with foreboding. It can only be him, the only one in the entire Western lands. He paused, a deep sigh escaping his lips. I do not understand why he has returned so suddenly, but I pray he will not bring further chaos. The black-haired elder closed his eyes, his face etched with worry. The White Elder nodded, slowly, a deep sadness in his eyes. Our most prized pupil has returned, he murmured, his voice filled with a mixture of dread and sorrow. What? What is he planning? Zhuo Fan stood, his face grim, facing the 3 returned fiends. In 3 days, he repeated, his voice tight with suppressed anxiety. He glanced around, his eyes darting to every door used by the departing disciples. That's cutting it a little too close. Venerables, he said, turning to the fiends, a hint of desperation in his voice. Could you perhaps stall them? Just for a bit? We're terribly short on time. Fiend Yang exploded, bristling with indignation. You want us, 3 measly little guys, to change the minds of a room packed with those worthies? Are you insane? Sure, you're suddenly tight on time now, but what in the 7 hells have you been doing for the last few days? We begged you to cure those. Fools, but you just wouldn't have it. It all comes down to luck again, Zhuo Fan muttered, his voice dismissive, turning a deaf ear to Fiend Yang's furious complaints, deflecting the blame as smoothly as he always did. Fiend Yang's outrage reached a boiling point. For crying out loud, Zhuo Fan, you are supposed to be the leader of the demon scheming sect. Start acting like one for once. Luck? What in the world are you talking about, luck? Don't tell me you didn't plan for this. And what about those girls? Why are they still hanging around? Is this how a leader acts? Fan thought, his mind racing. If my calculations are correct, they should be able to break through in 3 days. It varies from person to person. Who knows if there will be accidents? Aloud, he snapped at Fiend Yang, cutting off his tirade. Stop it. I don't know. I don't know if I can handle it all myself. His voice trailed off, a flicker of genuine uncertainty in his eyes, quickly masked by a forced air of confidence.